It's never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp.
America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves.
We've got to do a better job of getting across that America is free. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise, and freedom is special and rare.
A republic, if you can keep it. And here's Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser.
The truth in the trenches.
Right here, right now. There is no other place I want to be. One man that we relied on fundamentally changed the course of America. Fundamentally changed our lives, fundamentally attacked freedom. Okay, let's be honest here. There are a number of individuals that failed America over these last couple weeks. They expanded government power, though, nevertheless, as opposed to restrict and confine. But one individual here is particularly disturbing to me, not just a little disturbing. I mean disturbing of titanic proportions. Now, this person was sold to America as one who understood the Constitution and recognized the importance of limiting government power. In September of 2005, he even told us that his job was to call balls and strikes and not pitch or bat. America, you were duped again. This man hit it clean out of the park, but unfortunately it was the American people that were playing defense, and we lost. Now I want to play a clip for you. This is the individual sitting in front of the Senate, the United States Senate, at the confirmation hearing. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
Well, and I had someone ask me in this process, I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked me, are you going to be on the side of the little guy? And you obviously want to give an immediate answer, but as you reflect on it, if the Constitution says that the little guy should win, the little guy is going to win in court before me. But if the Constitution says that the big guy should win, well, then the big guy is going to win, because my obligation is to the Constitution. That's the oath. The oath that a judge takes is not that I'll look out for particular interests, I'll be on the side of particular interests. The oath is to uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States, and that's what I would do.
Of course, that's the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, John Roberts, the individual who wrote the majority opinion in the recent health care case. And guess what? The little guy got screwed, and the big guy doesn't know what hit him. And soon the big guy will take it out on the little guy. Why? Because he quite frankly can, and we, the American people, will let them. Chief Justice Roberts, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't get it, and he sided with 4 individuals who believe the federal government should be able to do whatever they wish. Yeah, that's right. He believes that they can even tax you for failing to buy something you don't want, you don't need, or you can't afford. Now, the federal government, this is what's so disturbing, is that they have decided to control areas of our lives that it has no right to control, take money it has no right to take. The government has told us that it can legislate literally for whatever purpose it wishes. It reminds me of the declaration or proclamation that was issued in 1765 by the English government just after the Tax Act or the Stamp Act was imposed, telling them that, hey, we'll renege on this sort of deal, but you know what? We're going to make it very clear we can legislate in whatever areas we wish, even if it imposes on what you think are your fundamental freedoms. And what has Congress done, ladies and gentlemen? What have they done? They've chosen to legislate in some areas that this talk about here. They've chosen to legislate in areas that pertain to your washing machine, your toilet, your light bulbs, your baby cribs, your latex balloons, for crying out loud, matchboxes, matchbooks, mattresses, televisions, radio, cell phones, iPods. And the list goes on and on. Batteries, garage door openers, lawnmowers, lawn darts, pool slides, toothpaste, toilets, and even, now follow me here, even the amount of sugar that ketchup manufacturers can use to produce their product. This is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we bargain for? Is this what individuals who literally pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor bargain for? If our founding fathers were here today and were to read the opinion from the United States Supreme Court on SB 1070 or the health care decision, do you think that the states would have bought on to this? The states would have been running for the streets. They would have had no part of this. And yet we, the American people, have allowed it, and quite frankly, it's absurd. It was not intended to be this way. We elected the government. It works for us. So how did it get so removed, so brazen, so arrogant? How did it get so unbridled? Well, let's call a spade a spade. Tyranny rarely comes upon us all at once. Freedom is rarely taken from a people overnight. It generally comes by the gradual stroke of a pen that's applied to paper over and over and over right beneath the noses of the American people. It simply happens gradually. A little stretch here, a cave in there. Power is slowly taken from the people until we have one big monster government. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, what we're dealing with. Let's call it like it is. This is a monster government that claims the authority to regulate any activity, to tax any behavior, and demand conformity, to force you to behave in ways that you may not want to behave. Incrementalism and the abuse of power is the death of America. And we have an obligation as the people to step up and resist what is going on, to mandate that those people in D.C., actually D.C. all the way down to the local dog catcher, to start understanding what their obligation is as a government actor. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, the so-called conservative Republicans, they stink at picking Supreme Court justices. We just can't get it right. Here you had Chief Justice Roberts nominated by a so-called conservative Republican president, Souter in the past appointed by President Reagan, Kennedy, who's typically a swing vote, was appointed by President Reagan. We just can't get this right. The liberals are as predictable as they come. We know exactly where Ginsburg, Kagan, Sotomayor are coming down on these issues. But we've got a Chief Justice that everyone in this country anticipated would come down on the other side of the fence. And he fell down on the other side, and he damaged America. Quite frankly, he damaged America. Well, good evening, America. This is Shane Krauser. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. And as many of you know, this is the show's debut. And I tell you what, take a seat because we got some things to talk about. We're going to have a lot of fun during this time. I have so many folks to thank for making this possible. My agent and senior producer, Margaret Andrews, my wife and my children, Bill Bish, Robbie Barkman and his wife of Robar Guns, Bill Haynes and his wife of CMI Gold and Silver. They are both sponsors of the show. And, of course, the thousands of you, literally the thousands of you out there who've moved me in this direction, who motivated me, encouraged me, and told me that we need to get the voice of freedom on the air, and we need to do it in ways that are different than what are being done. The phone lines are open. I want to hear from you. I want to talk with you. I want to discuss with you. I want to debate with you. Call your liberal friends. Tell them to tune in, because we got a battle to fight, and the battle's not going to be won simply by conversing with individuals that agree with one another. Call in. Let's talk. The number is 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960. Or if you're outside the Phoenix area, you can call in toll-free at 888-960-9696. Ladies and gentlemen, it was about a year ago, I sat down with a doctor, medical professional, and I asked him about what was going through Congress at the time, and I asked him about his thoughts regarding health care. And he told me that it was high time for this country to pass universal health care. And now when I asked him about the constitutionality of doing such a thing, he told me, follow me here, he told me that the Constitution was not a part of the equation in his mind. And therein lies the problem. That is the heart of the problem in this country. The Constitution has become an ink blot. The Constitution has become nothing more than a parchment barrier. See, we call on the Constitution when it's convenient for us, but we completely ignore it when one's agenda sounds like a good idea. You know, something gets on our way, then we might call on the Constitution because it provides that ammunition, but perhaps for the remainder of the time we're going to call it simply an inconvenience. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, what has happened over the last 2 weeks has been absolutely devastating to the cause of freedom. I mean devastating. Try to put any positive spin on this you wish. Supreme Court created a great opportunity. Chief Justice Roberts is a genius. They woke up a sleeping giant. Now people will listen to the pleas of a constitutional convention. Now the people will really rally. Justice Roberts, he did us a favor. You can put any spin on this you want. But the bottom line is that this Supreme Court created precedent. And this precedent at this point must be followed regardless of what the upcoming Congress does in 2012 when hopefully we take control of the House and the Senate. Regardless of what they do, do we recognize that the Supreme Court has now created precedent to allow them, Congress, to essentially tax anything they wish and force you to buy something you don't want, you don't need. And it's absolutely amazing that we've gotten to this point. That we've come from a place where individuals literally pledged their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor to a place where we've given up the choice to lead our lives to the government. We've given up our fortunes to the government. We've given up our property to the government. We've given up our ability to pursue happiness to the government. Well, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Justice Ginsburg. You remember the statement that she made not too long ago about how Egypt should look to the South African Constitution? I'm going to bring on somebody here that was a former South African citizen. He was in the military there, and I'm going to ask him a few things about what Justice Ginsburg had to say. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the South African Constitution has to offer, and I think what he has to say is absolutely going to stun you. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 AM The Patriot. This is The Truth in the Trenches. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Glenn Beck, and I've been urging you to educate yourself so we can together fight back the evil of progressivism. I believe our problems are not going to be solved in Washington. They're going to be solved with you and me, armed with knowledge and divinely inspired love. Join me in Dallas this July and learn how by learning our Constitution. Go to Beck728.com and do it today. Space is limited and time is short. Visit Beck728.com now.
Thanks, Glenn. Hi, everyone. This is Shane Krauser, the director of the American Academy for Constitutional Education. Go to Beck728.com and join Glenn and me in Dallas, Texas, July 23rd through the 28th. Our country needs a serious overhaul, and it begins with you, armed with knowledge. I will be teaching the Constitution in a way like you've never experienced before, and you'll see Glenn live. You'll also be inspired by speakers that will absolutely blow you away. Go to Beck728.com and see what all the excitement is about. That's Beck728.com. Come be a part of the truth in the trenches.
Hello, my name is Bill Bish. I'm the project director for Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. I want to tell you about a book that has absolutely changed my life and the lives of many people I know. It was just released, and you need to get your hands on it today. It's called Your Nation to Save, and it's a line-by-line explanation of the U.S. Constitution, written in plain English that anyone can understand. And it is arguably the most important book of this century. Go to aafce.com and check it out right away. By reading this book, you'll understand the Constitution in ways that most Americans and politicians fail to understand. This book's author, Shane Krauser, is an adjunct professor of constitutional law and an attorney in Arizona. As Shane so often says, the Constitution is not the problem. It is emphatically the answer. This exciting and informative book is only $15 plus shipping and handling. Your Nation to Save can be yours now by going to aafce.com. That's AAF, F as in freedom, CE.com.
right, welcome back, folks. We've got a great show for you today. I am here with somebody that you are absolutely going to find fascinating. He's one of the most interesting people I know. We're here with Robbie Barkman, who's actually one of the show's sponsors. I'm absolutely indebted to him for bringing me here and giving the Voice of Freedom an opportunity. Robbie Barkman, let me tell you a little bit about him. He came to the United States in 1977, became a citizen of the United States in 1982. In 1986, he began what is now a very successful business, namely Robar Guns, and he taught at Gunsight from 1977 to 1986. He captained 3 shooting teams representing South Africa, 2 international shoots, and 1 world championship. He was in the South African Army for 11 and a half years and achieved the rank of Company Sergeant Major. And one thing that I'm selfishly proud of is the fact that he presented one of my books, Your Nation to Save, to every single member of the Arizona State Legislature on the floor down at the Capitol. I'm so thankful for him and what he's done. Robbie, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shane, for having me.
And thank you for all that you do. Why you came to me, we talked several months ago about possibly engaging in this opportunity. Tell the listeners why it is that you were so motivated to do something like this.
Well, frustration. I think, like many Americans, I was involved with my business, very worrying about how I was going to make a living and keeping my business going. And one thing I was not doing, and that a lot of Americans have not done, is pay attention to the people that are representing us in Congress. And it wasn't until Obama came along that I suddenly woke up and said, no, wait a minute, this is not a good situation at all. So I started taking an interest in the Tea Party, True the Vote, and then I went to one of your seminars and came to realize that really where we are is that we have strayed from the Constitution and from the rule of law, and that there had to be a way to get the people's attention to get back to those fundamentals. These are the things that I believe made America the great country that it is. And this, to me, this program is a vehicle or a way to get the message out to other Americans. It's no good just yelling and screaming that we don't like the way things are. We need to get out there and actually do something, and this is my way of doing something.
Robbie, how old were you when you came to America?
I was 29.
I'm just amazed. An individual that generally grows up in a country and goes someplace else, the love that you have for this country, I think in many ways may be uncommon. I'm wondering what it is about this country that you love so much.
Freedom. I think unless you've lived in a country that is an autocracy, which is what South Africa was, basically governed by the Dutch Reformed Church in its essence, which is actually the truth, although that's not what's portrayed out front, then you come to America and learn about the Constitution and learn about what freedom is about, what the things are that made America free, the type of people that made America free. And then the biggest lesson of all is that I suddenly woke up one day after I'd lived here for a couple of years and realized I am in essence, in my soul, a free man. And I think to be a good American, you have to first be a free man. If you're not a free man, you can't be a good American, because it's all about being free and about freedom.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that we've moved so far away from that? I mean, our very government, the very foundation of the United States begins with the proposition that all men are created equal and that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We begin with that very proposition, and yet as a society it seems that we've deviated from that to a significant degree. And I think looking through your eyes, you've experienced something different. Right? You've experienced another constitution. You've experienced another type of government, and you see something different here.
I do, absolutely. But I think what's happened is we, the people, and I'll give you a good African analogy, if I may. If you look at the gazelle feeding out on the plains, they have their head down only for a couple of seconds while they nibble at the grass, and then they lift their heads to see if there's any danger. I mean, they are very, very aware of their surroundings. and what's going on around them. And we, Americans as a people, have had our head down in the feeding trough, our business or our work, and we've not lifted our heads to see what potential danger there is, like our representatives not representing us. They have not been representing us. They've been representing themselves.
Yeah. And we've been told that the U.S. Constitution is old, crusty, and dusty. And I want to let you listen to a statement about that was made by Justice Ginsburg. Fascinating. Blew me away when I heard it. I've got two clips I want to play for you. Let's go ahead and roll the first clip. This is Justice Ginsburg talking about the Egyptians adopting their own constitution, and here she's referring to the United States Constitution.
Now, I cannot speak about what the Egyptian experience should be because I'm operating under a rather old constitution.
I get it. If it's old, it must not be valid. I mean, for crying out loud, the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, apparently that's old and dusty and crusty. Are you kidding me? Apparently that doesn't apply anymore. I mean, thou shalt not commit adultery. I mean, that, for crying out loud, that was written thousands of years ago. Are you kidding me? And the Constitution was written just over 200 years ago. Apparently no longer valid is what she's telling us. Just absolutely unbelievable. And this is a justice, one of the 9 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, this next clip I want to play, I want to get your input because she talks about what constitution she recommends that Egypt look to when drafting their own. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
You should certainly be aided by all the constitution writing that has gone on since the end of World War II. I would not look to the U.S. Constitution if I were drafting a constitution in the year 2012. I might look at the Constitution of South Africa. That was a deliberate attempt to have a fundamental instrument of government that embraced basic human rights, had an independent judiciary. It really is, I think, a great piece of work that was done.
Wow.
Robbie, what are your thoughts about this? She's saying, look to the South African Constitution.
I have to believe that Justice Ginsburg somehow got her medication mixed up with her pet meds and didn't really understand what she was saying. The current South African Constitution, if you take a look at it, is nothing but a socialist manifesto. Well, if you just read the preamble, never mind getting into the details, just read the preamble to the South African Constitution, it is nothing but a socialist manifesto. Unbelievable. It
really is unbelievable. And when we come back on the other side, I want to talk about just a few provisions to make this clear, because I think when we heard this, many of us were shocked because it was a justice of the Supreme Court saying it. But many people didn't take the next step and look at what the South African Constitution actually says and whether it really is something good and positive that other countries should be looking at, or, as I maintain, is the Constitution something we should be looking at. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you. Give us a call at 602-508-0960. That's 602-508-0960. I want to talk with you. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 AM The Patriot. This is The Truth in the Trenches.
Have you heard the claims that gold is protection against any and all financial calamities? I'm Bill Haynes, president and owner of CMI Gold and Silver, and I've been a precious metals dealer in Phoenix since 1973. I'm here to tell you that gold will not be your financial salvation if you buy the wrong form. If you're thinking of investing in gold and silver, you should purchase bullion products with low premiums, because bullion products give you more metal for the money invested, and bullion products are easier to sell when it comes time to convert your metal back to cash. Don't get stuck with hard-to-sell, high-premium, collectible, numismatic, so-called certified coins. Go with bullion investments such as American Gold Eagles and Krugerrands. If you prefer silver, consider 100-ounce silver bars or American Silver Eagles. To learn more about the right ways to invest in gold and silver, call CMI Gold and Silver at 602-234-2300. That's 602-234-2300. CMI Gold and Silver. Visit us online at CMIGoldSilver.com.
right, folks, welcome back. This is Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser. I'm here with Robbie Barkman, a former South African citizen, now U.S. citizen. We were talking a little bit about Justice Ginsburg and the comment that she made several months ago about how Egypt should look to the South African Constitution as opposed to the U.S. Constitution because, get this, ladies and gentlemen, it is too old. Robbie, you were mentioning it being a socialist or a communist manifesto. Those are pretty tough words. But what is it about the South African Constitution that concerns you?
Well, if you look at the preamble to the Constitution, it specifically says that the whole aim of the government or the new government of South Africa is to provide basically everything for everybody. We're talking about food, even water, housing. Everybody's going to get a house from the government. Wow. I think maybe I should go back.
And why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if the government's going to take care of us, just bargain away our freedom.
So my big question is, who's going to pay for all of this? Where's the money going to come from? But then, of course, Mr. Zuma may have been talking to Barack Obama, and they're probably going to tax the rich. I see what this is a distribution of wealth.
There we go. Yeah. And that's actually what the preamble talks about in the South African Constitution, social justice, which is part and parcel to the redistribution of wealth. But I'm looking at the South African Constitution. I was sitting down with my family this last week, some of my children, and I was talking with them about the South African Constitution, and I looked up the Bill of Rights, Chapter 2 of the Constitution, and I'm looking at subsection 26, which gives citizens of South Africa the right to housing. Subsection 27 gives them the right to health care, and subsection 29 gives them the right to education. Who's going to pay for this? Right? I mean, most people just think, well, I have a right to education. Well, in order to do something like this, someone has to pay for it. That's not true freedom, right? Freedom is the ability to fail. Freedom is the ability to go out and work hard and decide whether or not you want health insurance. Freedom is the ability to go out and take the chance that you might end up living in a cardboard box. That's what freedom is about. Freedom is the ability to run a risk. Hey, we've got to call Charlie Fox, a good friend of mine. I see him on line one. Charlie, are you there?
I'm here.
Charlie, great to hear from you.
Well, this is great what you're doing. I just wanted to make a comment. Ginsburg enrages me, but she certainly doesn't surprise me. And I don't see why they don't go ahead and tell them to adopt the 1936 USSR Constitution, which in Article 124 says there will be separation of church and state. They love that so much. Why don't they go to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is unbelievable. Because you look at the South African Constitution, and there are some good provisions here. I mean, it talks about the freedom of speech, the freedom of assembly, the right to be left alone in one's own home. But then it talks about all these other rights, which government must play a part in order for them to realize that right. And that is not freedom. That is absolutely not freedom.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Charlie, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate so much your support. I hope things are going well for you out in the East Valley.
Going great. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I'm just looking at this, and it's unbelievable. Our Constitution is the standard of hope, and I make no bones about that. However, my concern is, as I said earlier in the show, it's being reduced to an ink blot, and the reason why should be rather obvious. We've fallen for the lie that the Constitution has no fixed meaning, and the proper way to pursue happiness is through a federal government charged with providing us with all of our wants and needs. Sounds like a great plan to me. I was out at a restaurant not too long ago with a group of friends, and I asked the waitress if she loved America. She said, no, not really. She says, I'm moving to Sweden. I said, you're moving to Sweden? Are you really looking forward to paying about 68% of your income in taxes to the government? To which she responds, well, they're the happiest people in the world. Where does this nonsense come from? That I give up the things that I work for by the sweat of my brow, and I give the majority back to the government, and I call myself free. We are in desperate times in America, and we must rise up. And James Madison made it very clear. He says this: nothing in parchment or the Constitution is capable of restraining men who have no respect for the rule of law and will bend or break the law to benefit themselves. We're going to talk more about that on the other side. When we come back, we've got Liberty Storm senior producer Margaret Andrews reporting live from Dallas, Texas, going to be talking a little bit about what we're doing out in Dallas with Glenn Beck's crew at the end of the month. This is going to be exciting. Look forward to hearing from Margaret. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 AM, The Patriot. This is The Truth in the Trenches.
Hi, it's Glenn Beck, and I've been urging you to educate yourself so we can together fight back the evil of progressivism. I believe our problems are not going to be solved in Washington. They're going to be solved with you and me, armed with knowledge and divinely inspired love. Join me in Dallas this July and learn how by learning our Constitution. Go to Beck728.com and do it today. Space is limited and time is short. Visit Beck728.com now.
Thanks, Glenn. Hi, everyone. This is Shane Krauser, the director of the American Academy for Constitutional Education. Go to Beck728.com and join Glenn and me in Dallas, Texas, July 23rd through the 28th. Our country needs a serious overhaul, and it begins with you, armed with knowledge. I will be teaching the Constitution in a way like you've never experienced before, and you'll see Glenn live. You'll also be inspired by speakers that will absolutely blow you away. Go to Beck728.com and see what all the excitement is about. That's Beck728.com. Come be a part of the truth in the trenches.
Hey there, this is Margaret Andrews, and I'm the National Events Director for the American Academy for Constitutional Education. You know, Daniel Webster said, give the people the means of detecting the wrong, and they will apply the remedy. This is why the Academy exists. At the American Academy, we offer citizens from all walks of life the opportunity that is not afforded anywhere else in the United States, a chance to learn the Constitution in a high-energy environment that will truly capture your attention in ways you never thought possible. This is where the Constitution comes alive, and this is the truth in the trenches. We ask you to go to aafce.com and check us out today. The Academy's objective is clear. We are launching a never-before-seen attempt to restore America back to its founding principles, and you'll learn from Shane Krauser, your host of Liberty Storm. Visit us in Phoenix or book us anywhere in the nation. Go to aafce.com and check us out today, or give me a call at 480-347-8969.
This is David Davenport of the Hoover Institution for Townhall.com. Chief Justice John Roberts was apparently on the fence on the healthcare decision and fell off on the wrong side, and he ended up violating the very principles he was trying to uphold. After rightly declaring the healthcare bill an unconstitutional stretch of Congress's power under both the Commerce and Spending clauses, Roberts strained to uphold the bill under the taxing power. Sources now say he did so fearing damage to the court's reputation for being too political and activist. But if, as it seems, Roberts actually felt the measure was unconstitutional, he himself played politics to uphold the court's reputation over the Constitution. And he strained to, in effect, rewrite the law in order to save it, a classic example of judicial activism. I'm David Davenport.
If your debt has you down, we should talk. Call nonprofit Trinity Debt Management at 1-800-793-9159 or visit mydebthasmedown.com.
We're calling America, help me pay. We're calling America, so I can live again. I'm calling America, shine your light for all to see. I'm calling on those stars and stripes. Being a patriot.
Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. That's Alex Boye. Unbelievable, man. We're going to be spending some time with him here in the near future. The individual who was singing that song, Calling America. Individual that was in a similar situation as Robbie. We're going to go to Margaret here in just a moment, but first I want to go to Jeff Chapman from Farmington, New Mexico. Jeff, are you there?
I am, Shane. How you doing?
Jeff, how are you?
I'm good, man. You got a great show going on. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. What are your thoughts?
Well, here's my thought. This is the question that I keep posing. I keep hearing people say over and over again that it's great the direction we're headed, that we're going to be provided everything for us. What is my incentive as a hardworking American to go out and work hard if everything's going to be handed to me by somebody else? What's my incentive? There is no incentive. So if I stop working hard and every other American stops working hard because there's no incentive anymore to do so, we're not going to be just rewarded for our efforts. Who's going to pay for everything? That's the question I pose.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jeff. The reason why we are the greatest country in the history of the world is because there was a time when prosperity was encouraged, hard work was encouraged, and that you go out and work, and by the sweat of your brow you earn things and you're able to keep those things. And suddenly we've come to a point where we're okay with giving those things back to the government and let them choose where those resources will go. You're absolutely right. There are no real incentives to work hard if the government's going to take those things away from us. Jeff, what are you doing out in New Mexico in terms of taking this message forward?
Well, as you know, Shane, I'm actually trying to get you to come on out here to Farmington so that we can get your message here in the Farmington, New Mexico area. And I'm actually looking forward to that and excited about that. I think that once you get in front of the populace here in Farmington, we have a pretty good movement right now with the 912 Project and with our Republican and Tea Party here. And I think that by having you come out and lighting a little bit of a fire underneath our feet over here, I think that's actually going to start helping us move in the right direction. As you already know, we are a pretty liberal state here in New Mexico, and I'm hoping that just by me getting involved and talking with people and explaining how socialism doesn't work, that maybe just that little influence in itself will spread from one person and then maybe to the next and to the next.
Jeff, thank you so much for your call, and thank you for all that you do. I know you're a police officer out in New Mexico, and absolutely appreciate your service and literally pledging your life to do so many good things to look out for the people. Now let's go to Margaret. Margaret Andrews, she's the senior producer for Liberty Storm. She's reporting live from Dallas, Texas. Margaret, are you there?
Hey, Shane. Yes, I am.
Margaret, I've got Robbie here as well. He was so excited.
Hey, Robbie.
Hi, Margaret.
Margaret, tell us what you're doing out there.
Well, first of all, I'm out here for the month. I've kind of moved myself out here to get set up for the event that we're doing in conjunction with Glenn Beck's Restoring Love. And I don't know how much of your listeners know what's going on, but Glenn Beck's Restoring Love sold out in about 6 minutes at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. They've got about 80,000 people that will be there. But we are coming in as the Academy, and you as the teacher there, Shane, to teach the Constitution from Tuesday the 24th all the way through till the morning of the 28th. And we also have several other speakers that are coming in. We'll have David Barton will be there. We have Glenn Beck will be doing his live radio show. We have Chad Hoven will be speaking on Godonomics. And we have Deneen Borelli. She is a Fox News contributor that will be there doing a presentation on her new book called Blacklash. So we've got some amazing things going on. Michelle Bachmann will be there for a women's conference on Saturday afternoon. And I'm just spending the time out here just being boots on the ground, getting prepared for all of this. But when you fly in, Shane, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Margaret, I know that they can go to Beck728.com to register for this, but it costs money to go to this. What can people expect to take away from this? I haven't been out there yet. You've spent the bulk of the time out there. What can people expect to take away from this?
Well, really, the whole reason when we spoke about this, we met with Glenn back in February, on February 6th, actually, and talked with him about doing a ground Constitution training, and he was all on board with that. So all of these months we've been preparing to give them the knowledge and arm them with the ability to go back into their communities and make a difference. We have spent so much time preaching to the choir, and quite frankly, we can't do that anymore. We have to know how to talk to people that don't agree with us, because everybody's hurting here. It's not just us on a conservative note. I was talking to some liberal people out here in Texas just the other day regarding this Justice Roberts' decision, and they were really blown away. They don't know what to make of all of that, and they're looking at that now as, oh my gosh, there's like a big shoe's going to fall because nobody expected that to happen. So they're very confused. We need to be a voice of reason out there in our societies and in our communities. We have to talk to these people and help them understand that they are literally going to have handcuffs on them if they don't turn around and see what is happening and realize that it's not about you just getting what you want when you want it. It's about making sure and ensuring that the people in the future have an ability to work, an ability to grow their companies or grow a business or grow a family without government control. So what we're going to arm them with are the tools where they can go back to their communities and make a difference.
Yeah. I absolutely find it just fascinating, and it's so sad to watch the American people give their freedom away. And, the very people that are giving freedom away are the same people that are crying out for freedom. It's my choice. It's my body. It's my this. It's my that. Well, wake up, America. It's not. You're surrendering it all. You're giving up to a government that we are beginning to concede knows better than we know how to live our lives. And government wants us to believe that they're looking out for our best interests so we can live free, while they do just the opposite, namely ruin and dictate the course of our lives and decide what course we should take. And it really is.
We just have to be careful about, the people we take things from, because any time that someone gives and gives and gives to you, it's because there's going to come a hook later on. And you have to be careful about what you take from someone. So, with what the government is doing now, they're trying to get the hooks in everybody, and people have to stop at some point and go, you know what, even though you want to give me this health care, I'm not going to take this. We have to stop somewhere and have personal responsibility, because the more you allow them to give, okay, everybody gets a free house. Well, that's wonderful. Guess what? Then they own the house. They can come kick you out of that house as well.
Absolutely.
They can have you put people up in that house. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
that which the government subsidizes, the government owns.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the bottom line.
It's a dangerous slippery slope.
Robbie, we were talking over the break about the South African Constitution. You made a really interesting comment about slavery. That's pretty harsh. But let's talk about that for a moment.
Shane, if you look at the South African Constitution and actually you look at what's going on in America, we're basically implementing modern slavery. The only difference is we're not using chains and whips. We're using money and the economy and the power of money to enslave the people.
Yeah. Here we go. We thought healthcare was bad, and some of the things that came down with SB 1070 were bad. Try this one on for size. The New York mayor, Bloomberg, decides that he wants to pass a law that you cannot purchase a drink larger than 16 ounces. Why? Because it's pretty unhealthy. I'm sitting down. I mentioned earlier I was talking about the South African Constitution with my children, and when I brought up housing, my 12-year-old says, who's going to pay for it? Right? I mean, intuitively, he gets it. The American people apparently don't. And when I was talking to my family about this, 32-ounce soda, can't buy it. You can't buy anything that's 17 ounces or larger. And one of my boys chimes in and says, well, that's not freedom. Well, and then I chime back and say, well, wait a second. It's unhealthy to drink a lot of soda, isn't it? And these kids get it. They get it. They say, isn't that my choice? If I choose to eat Big Macs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, should I not be able to eat Big Macs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? But then here's what I did, because this is very common among American people. Margaret, we've seen this. Robbie, you've seen it as you traveled with us. And I pulled the old bait and switch on my son. I said, okay, you have a problem with us doing the 16-ounce soda, 17 ounces or larger, can't buy it. But let's make a law that says you can't buy coffee. Can't buy coffee that's in the amount of 32 ounces. And, of course, we don't drink coffee, and my son chimes back, hey, that's a great idea, right? We don't drink coffee. Oh, whoa. That's the very problem with the American people. We'll defend freedom if it looks good for us, right? If I want to drink that soda, I'm gonna resist Mayor Bloomberg's attempt. But if I don't drink coffee, well, go ahead and legislate to your heart's content. It's the inability of Americans to understand what it really means to be free. And that's the ability to allow other people to make choices that you may not agree with.
Well, and it's a double standard. It's a double standard. I have freedom of choice. We see all the rallies for freedom of choice out there, right? I have freedom of choice to, rip a baby out of my womb and kill it, but I don't have a right to drink a soda. It makes no sense. It's all upside down. And people better look up and pay attention, because if they think they're going to stop at the soda, and if they think that now the 8-ounce soda isn't going to cost as much as the 32-ounce soda, they are crazy. And by the way, at the event we're having, we have a T-shirt that we're making that is just amazing, and it's going to speak to Bloomberg's information about the 32-ounce soda. So you got to see this. We'll have it out on our website as well, so people can take a look at it.
Very good. Hey, Margaret, thank you so much for calling in. We've got Ralph on line 1. We want to take his call. Margaret, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for reporting live from Dallas. Ralph on line 1. Ralph, are you there?
Yes, Ralph Hughes here.
Ralph, great to hear from you. Tell us what's on your mind.
Listen, I just finished rereading a book by a man named Jerome Horowitz. The title of the book was "The United States Has Two Constitutions." Okay, and now he tells us in this book that we have the what he called the Founding Fathers Constitution and also the Supreme Court Constitution. Now, I want to suggest that when we talk about the Constitution, we need to espouse those principles of the Constitution they were written in the tradition of the Founding Fathers, as the expression goes, or the Constitution as the founders and those who established it meant it to be understood.
You sound like Thomas Jefferson, Ralph.
I happen to read a couple of books about him, but that's right. But I think you understand where I'm coming from,
Absolutely.
Jane. And I just want to suggest that you somehow find a way to promote this. It's a concern because there are a lot of things that are done now that are happening that the government is doing and say, well, it's constitutional because of the Butler case way back in 1936, or because this, that, and the other thing. And so I just want to suggest that people learn to and appreciate the Constitution as the founders, the people who wrote it, meant it to be understood.
Ralph, thank you so much for your call.
All right, I'll get out of your way now.
Thank you for your energy and your passion and what you're doing in the community, for your voice. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you a little bit about some of the plans that we have. As I mentioned earlier, this is the show's debut. I can't tell you how excited I am for many of the things we're going to be doing. In the future, we're going to be giving out prizes to various seminars that the Academy puts on, the American Academy for Constitutional Education. In addition, one of our sponsors, CMI Gold and Silver, the president is Bill Haynes, has offered to give away silver coins valued at over $30. We're going to have a great time. The bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is that we, the people, are the ultimate authority. We're the only legitimate fountain of power. And we have allowed people to run roughshod over a way of life that has rarely been experienced in the history of the entire world. America, let's rise up. We've got a job to do. We've got a country to take back. We've got freedom to restore. You're listening to Liberty Storm with Shane Krauser on 960 AM. The Patriot, this is the truth in the trenches.
Right here, right now, there is no other place I want to be. Right here, right